Stop romanticizing what kept you in bondage. Stop romanticizing what kept you limited, what kept you captive, what kept you from receiving fullness, what kept you from receiving more, what kept you in poverty, what kept you in shame, what kept you in guilt and condemnation. Stop romanticizing those things. Hey y'all, welcome back to my channel. My name is Benedicta if you have not been here before, and this is Becoming Benedicta, where I focus on all things becoming in the fullness of your identity in Christ, becoming in the fullness of your calling, becoming the woman that you're supposed to be or the man of God that you're supposed to be, this thing that we call faith, this thing that we call salvation, the ins and outs transparently and authentically as possible. And so if that sounds like what you need in your life at this season, at this time, go ahead and hit the subscribe button below. Today, I'm going to be talking about Egypt, and not in the sense of traveling to Egypt, but we're going to talk about how to stop romanticizing Egypt. And I know some of you are going to be like, what in the world is this girl talking about? What does she mean romanticizing Egypt? I haven't even been to Egypt. I don't even know nothing about Egypt. Trust me, by the end of this video, you're going to realize that you know more about Egypt than you thought you did. So let's jump right into it. Egypt in the Hebrew is the word Mizraim. That is M-I-Z-R-A-I-M. Mizraim, something like that. I don't speak Hebrew, okay? But Egypt in the Hebrew is Mizraim. What does that word Mizraim mean? It means shut in. It means misery. It means restraint. It means distress. It means limitation, basically. It means a straight and narrow gate. It means this place of constraint. So what does that mean? That means that there are times and seasons in our life where we get to a place where we start romanticizing places that kept us in misery, places that kept us in restraint, places that kept us limited, places that kept us captive, places that kept us shut in, not allowing us to go forward into our promised land. And some of us hold on to this place and actually start giving it more credit than it deserves, actually start giving it more pros than it actually had to begin with, not starting to see or not remembering the cons that brought you out of that place or even gave you the initial desire to move out of that place or that time and season of your life. And so today, when we take it back to the beginning, stop romanticizing Egypt, stop romanticizing what kept you in bondage, stop romanticizing what kept you limited, what kept you captive, what kept you from receiving fullness, what kept you from receiving more, what kept you in poverty, what kept you in shame, what kept you in guilt and condemnation. Stop romanticizing those things. And I know you're probably asking, how am I romanticizing that thing? Why does she keep saying that I'm romanticizing that thing? Well, by nature, when you start journeying with Christ in the process of time, it's very easy to get in the trap of wishing things were once like they were before. For me personally, what does that look like? In the past 2 years coming into Christ, I came to Christ 2021, or surrendered my life to Christ. Let me say it that way, because I grew up in the church for most of my life, and it wasn't until I got to a certain age that I went from knowing of God as this external thing outside of my life to knowing God as my Father. And so for the past 2 years, the Lord has done a lot of stripping away, a lot of pruning, a lot of painful but necessary processing to get me to a place, to get me to the place that He wants me to be at. However, in that processing and in that time, many times I've thought to myself, like, dang, like, I was able to do this better when I wasn't in Christ. Like, dang, I was a lot more fruitful, or I accomplished a lot more when I was in the world. Things like that. Just these little sayings that I say, that I have caught myself saying to myself, romanticizing or reminiscing, what we could easily call reminiscing, but really romanticizing this time that has now come to pass. For instance, I am very, how would I say, like apostolic in nature. So I'm always building things. The Lord gives me visions and I build them. Even before I came to Christ, I built a lot from the ground up. Different organizations, whether it be professional related, school related, passion related, whatever the case may be. And so coming into Christ, I'm like, okay, God, like, I want to be able to do the same things but serve you. And every time I would try to do something, it almost felt like, dang, like, why isn't this working like it used to? Where is that same grace at that I had before when I didn't even know you for real? Like, what's going on? How do I get back to her? How do I go back to that version of me? Where is that grace? Like, how do I operate like I used to, the past? How do I get back into this rhythm that I used to be able to walk in before? Not realizing that there's always more when you look ahead. But this mindset of, I don't like where I am now, and it seemed like it was easier before I got to this place. Many times you'll see people praying and fasting for marriage, but then they get into marriage and they're like, dang, I wish I was single. Dang, I wish my life was so much easier when I was living by myself. Dang, I feel like my husband is my oldest child. Like, whatever the case, I hear people say this. This is why I'm saying it. I'm not married yet, but these are the things I hear people say. Or women who are even praying for children, you get the child and you're like, dang, like, I need a break. I can't get any time to myself. I'm always doing this. I'm so tired. I'm this, that, and the other. The nature of motherhood, right? I have a niece who's like a few months old, so I see it live in action. But Lord, when I need a moment to myself, I need a break, I need this or whatever. And it's like, you've been contending and shaking the gates of heaven for how many years or months or whatever the case may be for this thing that you've asked me for, and now I bring it to you, and you're, dang, I used to get more sleep when I didn't have a child. Like, dang, I used to be able to do this for myself. I used to be able to do this for myself. This idea of used to, I like this better when, and this mindset that keeps taking us backward instead of taking us forward. And the problem with this is we don't realize that through our own mouths, the tongues that have the power of life and death on them, through our own mouths, we are limiting our destiny. We are limiting our ability to mobilize forward into our promised land. We see this with the Israelites. It took them 40 years to get somewhere that it only was supposed to take them 11 days to journey into. And sometimes we'll keep asking God for another chance, or we'll even keep asking God for more, or we'll even keep praying for the same thing that God is like, this is going to eat this person up. This thing might even take this person out of the faith, take them out of praying, like take them away from me, take them out of their routine of praying and reading their Bibles, or take them out of the proximity or intimacy that they have with me. And obviously he does not want that for us. And so sometimes that may be why the answer is no. But when the Lord sees that his children, his people that he has chosen and called by name, are in bondage, are being held captive, are in a place of stagnation, need deliverance, need to experience the freedom and the liberty that comes by the Spirit, he will try to deliver you time and time again. And so the Lord woke up Moses, sent Moses, go deliver my people, go set my people free. But many times we see the Israelites bad-mouthing Moses, coming down on Moses, shaming Moses, talking all sorts of crazy to Moses, or even saying the crazy things about God. Like, where is your God? Where's the person that said they were delivering us? Why are we suffering like this? Did they bring us here? Why would he bring us here to die? Why did he just leave us in slavery? And when you think about that, like when you really think about that, like you prayed to be delivered. The cry reached heaven. It's not that God just got bored and decided to go deliver them. The outcry of the Israelites reached heaven for God to send someone to deliver them. And time again, we see them coming against with their mouths the very thing that they were crying out to God for. And so the problem is we keep praying the same prayer. Lord, deliver me. Lord, I need a breakthrough. Lord, I need a financial breakthrough. Lord, where is my husband? Because that's the prayer I've been praying, okay? Lord, where is my husband? I want a child. I want kids. I need a house, Lord. I want to move out. I need a new job. But mentally, we keep keeping ourselves in this place of Egypt. And even as you're journeying, so for example, again, the Israelites, even as you're journeying, let's say you are delaying yourself in this process of romanticizing Egypt as you're trying to make it to your promised land. Even though you're journeying, there will be certain consequences that you will have to pay that will completely derail you from where you were supposed to go in the first place. Sometimes it will be too late. Sometimes you will not get what was promised. Sometimes you can start the journey and be the very thing that sabotages you or ends that journey for you. Sometimes it's not warfare. Sometimes it's not attack. Sometimes it's not the enemy after you and after your destiny. Sometimes it's not your household witches and the idols from your father's and your mother's house. Sometimes it's just you. Like, when are we going to take accountability? Sometimes it's just you. Sometimes it's a deliverance that you need from your mindset that is keeping you stagnant, that is keeping you in delay, that is keeping you in this state of perpetual procrastination. Sometimes it's just you. In the book of Numbers, chapter 14, we see, again, them literally starting off in the beginning of the chapter saying, let's appoint a new leader and go back to Egypt, because I don't know what's become of this Moses. This is foolery. I'm done with the shenanigans. Let's go back. They start the chapter off this way. Moses cries out to God for these people. God forgives them. But he says, all these people who I've become sick and tired of, who have probably their 10th time plus now, bad-mouthing me, coming against you, I'm tired of them. None of them are entering the promised land. So yes, I have forgiven them. Yes, I won't wipe them out or kill them like I plan to, but they're not going anywhere. They can just stay here. You know what? They've told me enough with their own mouths that they don't actually want to go to their promised land. They're fine with where they're at. They actually want to go backwards. And I'm not even going to be a cruel God and take them back. I'm just going to leave them where they're at. They can die here. And what we end up seeing is very much that. But then the Israelites, after coming to their senses, after realizing that Egypt was actually the place that they wanted deliverance from, remembering that they cried out to God for where they're going and the process of where they're going. Many times we pray and cry out for the promise, but we don't want to go through the process. Why is that? We cry out and contend and beg God for these things, but when he's ready to deliver that promise to us, when the process of time starts, we start backing out and say, never mind, we don't want the promise. We don't want that promise anymore. And so we see at the end, the Israelites get themselves up. This is the same chapter, Numbers 14. And we see around this verse, basically what happens is the Israelites get up, and there was supposed to be a battle that they were supposed to fight. They didn't want to fight it. They ran away. They were like, God, why would you bring us here to kill us? Whatever the case, like I was saying earlier. Fast forward. Now they're like coming back to their senses, and they're like, dang, we prayed for this, and God has delivered us and kept us this far. Let's come back to our senses and keep going with the process. And what happened? They went ahead, even though the Lord told them, don't go, because I'm not going with you. They decided to go fight on their own and literally got killed in the process. They did not take the ark of the Lord. Moses and them did not go with them. They went on their own. They went up to fight and got completely annihilated. How many of us have been in a situation where we went without the Lord? What do the consequences look like? And so when it comes to Egypt, and what we can learn from the Israelites is you have to make up your mind. You have to decide that Egypt no longer serves you. You have to decide before even asking for the promise that you're willing to go through the process. You're willing to commit to the process. Nobody goes to the gym one day and says, I want a new body. I want to be, toned up, muscular, whatever the case may be. Nobody sets a goal and just decides to wake up the next morning and arriving at that goal. Everyone knows, at least I hope everyone knows, that when you set a goal or you have a new desire or a passion, or even you're even praying for something, there's a process that you've already subscribed to in your mind, subconsciously, when you're putting that thing to paper or when you're proclaiming that you want that thing, whether you know it or not. And why it's also important to stop romanticizing Egypt is because God moves in times and seasons. And so, yes, in his grace and his mercy, what took them 11 days still took them 40 years, but they still made it to the promised land. Yes, at the end of the day, we can say they still made it to the promised land, so it's okay. No, there is a such thing as delay, and there is things that you will miss out on. Obviously, we see a whole generation that didn't make it into the promised land. Yes, the Israelites made it, but there's a whole generation of the Israelites that didn't even make it into the promised land. There's an obvious consequence there, but think about the seasons, literal seasons. Summer, spring, fall, winter. You don't harvest in winter, and you don't plant seeds in fall. Fall is when you're harvesting, and now you want to plant your seeds and expect to see a harvest in fall too when everyone else is getting their harvest. But when everyone else was planting their seeds, you were sitting back or taking yourself in cycles by romanticizing Egypt, dibble-dabbling back and forth and couldn't make up your mind on what you wanted or if you were willing to pay the costs for your process. You're planting seeds in July, expect to be frustrated. And certain, like we saw earlier, windows close. There's a time and season to everything. Many times the things that we're asking for that take some time to come to us is because we don't have the capacity to receive it. We don't have the capacity to even identify the gift when it arrives, and we definitely don't have the capacity to steward it. So what does God do through the process? He builds our capacity. But when we unsubscribe from the process, when we tap out too quickly, what is that doing? taking us backwards? What happens when you go to the gym for 4 weeks in a row in pursuit of this new body or whatever fitness or weight loss goals that you have, and then don't go for 3 months? What you did 3 months ago for those 4 weeks consistently, it's almost like it gets completely erased, and there's no evidence or fruit in the journey that you started. And if you're only measuring your success by what you've been able to accomplish in the past, then you aren't successful. If all of your accolades, all of your highest achievements came from your past seasons, but you aren't able to execute or produce that output in this season, then you are no longer successful. And the goal or the prayer now is, Lord, give me the grace or the capacity to produce that same level of success, if not more. And if you're thinking that what you did before is all that he has for you, then your mindset is limited. Then your mind is what's keeping you in Egypt. It is my prayer that we have identified at least one area that is keeping us in Egypt, so we can break that relationship off. Now we can cut that tie, we can cut that cord, whether it be in our minds or a physical place or the company that you're carrying around you. It is time to divorce Egypt. It is time to stop romanticizing the affair that has ended. The Lord wants to take you into your next. He wants to deliver you. He wants to bring that promise to you, but he's working with you. He's working at your pace. He's working with your heart posture. And so stop romanticizing Egypt. Comment down below if you've identified what Egypt looks like for you. If you have any other places of Egypt that I didn't mention that you feel like would be helpful for other people to know, I'll meet you there. Go ahead and like this video, share, and subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. And I will see you on next time. Bye.